ahead. I wonder if you could, if I could hear your thoughts on that, and similarly also, just a final thought on the huge gap that there is between the G20 and the ordinary person in the street, with all the difficulties that they're currently facing, and businesses and all the current difficulties they are facing. I mean, how big is that gap, do you think?
Well, there's a gap in the sense that a lot of this diplomacy at the highest level doesn't mean an awful lot to an awful lot of people who are in real difficulty. It is possible to see coming out of this meeting, first of all, a lot of rhetorical stuff that it'll be an aspiration rather than a binding commitment, and also some quite useful stuff which in time will have a beneficial effect on economies around the world. I mean, if you replenish the IMF, give it some more money, if you put more money into providing credit for international trade, to take two examples, these things will help, but they're not going to help instantly. So people who are hoping for instant benefit from this meeting will be disappointed. This is going to be a long process. The other thing I would say is I think that Barack Obama is absolutely right in saying that differences are being exaggerated, because it is quite possible to come up with language that covers these contentious things like fiscal stimulus and what type of regulation. Perfectly possible to come up with a communique which will patch over some of the substantive differences that exist between the leaders. But, as often at these international meetings, it's the encounters outside the meetings which can be very, very important. And I think that one of the, actually the most important meeting which is taking place is that between the American and Chinese presidents, because what they decide to do together is going to be absolutely fundamental to American recovery, to Chinese recovery, and that's going to have all kinds of impacts globally. So it's a very important opening meeting between a mature superpower, the United States, and an emerging superpower, China, and the two of them are economically, whether they like it or not, absolutely interlocked and interdependent.
Well, Sir Christopher Mayor, fascinated to hear those thoughts. Thank you for your time here this afternoon as we return to those pictures. Let's cross to our correspondent Robert Hall. He's at the European Climate Change Exchange in Bishopsgate, where that climate camp has been set up. Robert, over to you.
On the internet and by text message to a lot of the people now setting up their tents in Bishopsgate. We're about 50 metres from the Climate Exchange here, where this is one group who've established themselves. Let's just take a close look at them. They say they're going to be here for 24 hours. They want to live in a sustainable way. They're going to spread their message amongst people who live and work in the city. But if you just follow me over this way a little bit, you can get a sense of where we are. The Climate Exchange itself is the building on the right behind the police van, so that's to the right of your picture. There's another group establishing themselves with a rather larger tent from what I can see, stretching and more beyond them, so we're looking about 150 metres there of tentage by the time they've all established themselves. They're stressing, as has been the case all along, this is a peaceful protest. This is a very well organised group. They've established climate camps passing the same message at Drax Power Station, Kings North Power Station, and at Heathrow Airport, and this is really the pattern that they aim to establish today. This is one of the handouts that they've been passing to city workers as they've been making their way here. They're making it clear that they do intend to stay here. They're asking people to bring plenty of food and water, although I noticed that a little while ago, in fact over there on the pavement, they've now set up a sort of temporary kitchen to help cater for the campers, so people unpacking their rucksacks. It's going to be, there's certainly every intention of staying here for a while. It's fair to say that the leaders of the group, their legal observers too, who've been with them, have spoken to the police. I was talking to one of them about 10-15 minutes ago. They've consulted with the police commander. They've explained what their purpose is. They haven't any idea of quite how the police will deal with that. Bishopsgate is quite a busy street normally. It's certainly been busy all morning, so we will wait to see how the police handle that. At the moment, things are very calm, very relaxed. As you can hear, sort of carnival atmosphere, more musicians arriving over to my right. Certainly not a heavy police presence, and it certainly has every appearance that the demonstrators in this part of the city are settling in for the stay. They intend to be here, they say, throughout the G20 conference. There was, I should say, a moment of concern a little earlier. Separate from this group and disconnected from it is a group of hooded demonstrators. I'm not going to classify them because it's impossible to say who they were. They were followed by police at the run down the Bishopsgate about half an hour ago. We don't know where they've gone or what their purposes were. There was clearly concern at their presence, so we perhaps will wait to see if they reappear or make their presence felt later on. So just to recap here, the climate camp, as advertised, established on Bishopsgate pretty well on time and settling down for a 24-hour stay. Matthew, we'll come back to you a little later on, but for now from Bishopsgate, it's back to you in the studio.
Robert.